Real people of diverse cultures using the power of their faith to ground their lives and spur them on to amazing heights. Welcome as we appreciate one of life's great portraits. She brings out the beauty in everyone she meets, from accomplished entertainers to people of the community whose names seldom see the big lights. Balancing family and career with dedication and care, her living legacy now spans generations. The grand life of Washington, D.C.'s Carol Mu Min takes the spotlight tonight on Portraits.
It is the Juma, a congregational prayer of the Muslim faith held on Fridays. This time of communal praise serves as refreshing waters for the creativity of Carol Mu Min.
I love Juma, you know. Sometimes Juma to me is like Ramadan. Sometimes I feel like I'm crawling up the stairs. Crawling into the masjid because it's been so, challenging and so many obstacles to overcome and so much going on. And so I long for Juma because when I go there, I know that there is, and it always happens, there's a peace, there's a message that's going to come to me, a special message. It's just, it's a moment that it's like prayer, It's a moment that pulls us out of the world into space and time for just a minute. And then once you've been able to get that second wind or that drink of water, then you're able to go back into the world and deal with the issues of the day. And that's how I see Juma.
Carol and Ibrahim are very supportive, and of course they're involved in a lot of interfaith organizations, and we work together. Carol and we couldn't be closer if we were blood sisters. Our families, whatever, we share all of our problems and concerns and work on many projects together.
Great writer, great woman, and definitely a role model for all individuals in life, not just women but men also. And I have nothing but respect, admiration, and love for Carol Mu Min.
We've been very long, fast friends. And I support her in everything that she does. I'm amazed at her talent and her gifts, and hope that she goes far with this play in particular because it has a great message for all of us. And it reaches out to the communities, and that is what we're trying to do.
Carol Mu Min sets an excellent example. I think it's absolutely right on. There are no walls for her. She extends herself beyond, out into the community. She doesn't let any, no wall or no barrier stands in her way. She understands how to attract people to her. She understands how to make things come to her. She's very gifted in that sense, and she's very open and loving and concerned, and a great coach and a great mentor.
Carol and Ibrahim are very dedicated to the community. They have just had many leadership roles. She's just a very dedicated, devoted Muslim. And outside of the community.
Basically, all of the interfaith programs that come to the masjid, Carol and Ibrahim are involved in some way or the other. If they haven't set it up themselves, then someone else, but they're always very supportive of that. And they're leaders in the interfaith, in the outer community.
The fabric of a community is the people and children whose lives weave into its stony mesh, connections that form a strong neighborhood. It is here that Mu'min draws her strength and vitality and gives freely of her time and talent to her neighbors and friends. An accomplished writer, Mu'min sets aside her own projects to collaborate with two first-time scribes on the ventures of their dreams.
I'm working on two projects currently, simultaneously. One of them is a screenplay and I'm writing with a co-writer, Hannah Thomas, Dr. Hannah Thomas. The other is a one-man show. I'm Still Here is the sort of the working title of a Smokey Stevens.
From where I left off, I just continued
page
the story.
23.
I finished at 23, now I'm up to page from 24 to page 30.
He's a gifted actor. He's a superb tap dancer, and he is writing his bio on his life. And I'm working with him to put together a one-man show. Car pulls off. Smokey stares at the front of the building, then turns around because he can feel a presence. For a second, he is startled to see an audience. He speaks to the audience.
Hey, you startled me for a second. I didn't know you all were here. Well, actually, I'm kind of glad you showed up. You know, sometimes it's nice to have company when you're strolling down memory lane.
Smokey's mother calls out to him, "Ronald, is that you?"
Yeah, that's my mom, Mrs. Stevens. And this is the house that I grew up in. She's a wonderful writer, and she has a lot of information, and she structured the story in a way and in a fashion that just brought light and information, and then they're just really beautiful people. Just to give an example of how beautiful these people are, Carol and her husband, I had a laptop, a Dell laptop, you know, to just try to be computer literate. And unfortunately, the doggone thing caught a virus, and I couldn't, the mouse pad. To make a long story short, they actually gave me a brand new desktop, speakers, printer, and everything, so that I could continue my writings and doing what I'm doing. And everybody just don't do that.
Well, Smokey Stevens is a supreme artist, just absolutely gifted, who has been a Broadway star, who fell on hard times and has bounced back. And I think that will shortly be back on Broadway. I met Dr. Hannah Thomas quite by chance through an auto accident I had. she was my doctor in the hospital, and we just struck it off. It was just amazing. From the time she walked into my room, it was something that clicked, and we knew that we were going to be friends for a long time. Who are we twisting here? Are we twisting Dominique and is?
Well, one of the twists is between the president.
Okay.
And and his friend and confidant.
Oh,
there is
okay.
a twist there that
it's a thriller and a very interesting piece, and we're looking forward to completing it. We were commissioned, and so it's really been a labor of love, because the supporters of the project have also committed for the film itself. So that's kind of a nice deal when you know what your writing will be produced.
You're looking at somebody who's very very strong, but does not come across as abrasive or intrusive or let's say irritating in any way. But they have that strength that seems to encourage everyone around and give strength to others around.
In today's society, positive and constructive dialogue between people of diverse cultures and religious beliefs has never been more necessary. Thus, the Interfaith Conference was created to present an opportunity for such welcome conversation. It is a concern that weighs deeply on Mu'min's heart. She recently joined Church Women United, a seminar for women of different faiths to connect with one another, and relates the experience to the Interfaith Conference director.
Well, the Women of Faith is an organization of women of predominantly Abrahamic faiths, but some others, that began probably a good decade ago. Nancy Lang has been another key partner in that process with her.
We had an opportunity to talk about our faiths, what Islam meant to me, how I, interpreted, how I felt about the programs that were going on in the community, and everything from 9/11 to how did we view Christians, what we could do to strengthen the relationship between, Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And it was just very meaningful, very meaningful. I had no idea what I was really getting into, but I was really glad that I had participated.
Mu'min serves as an ambassador for the Interfaith Conference and its mission of peaceful interfaith relations. She also carries its dual concern of stronger education, drug counseling, and job training back to her people through her tireless efforts as president of Often Incorporated.
Often is an organization that has been able to establish programs to try to catch those people who would not fit into the category of where the normal programs would fit for whatever reason. And so because of the fact that oftentimes the programs are outside of what would be called traditionally fundable programs, for government subsidies. We have devised ways to raise funds ourselves from non-traditional ways, and theater for us is one of the ways that we are able to raise funding to do the programs that we like to do in the community.
A nice way to climb out from under the heavy load of activism in the Mu'min household is to enjoy a morning out for breakfast. And in Washington, D.C., that can only mean a trip back in time to where history was made.
This is Ben's Chili Bowl, and it has become world famous because of the fact that it's been here as long as it has, and because of the celebrities who have come through here over the years. This is where Bill Cosby and Camille dated before they married.
The unique thing about the Ben's Chili Bowl is owned by African Americans. And when Dr. King was assassinated in 1968, all of the stores on U Street were set afire. Ben's Chili Bowl was the only business that was not touched by the rioters in 1968 because of the relationship they had with people in the community. And we tell people at Ben's you can meet people who are, you know, the highest level of government, and also people who are unemployed, homeless. You know, everybody comes to Ben's, and everybody's welcome.
Carol and my mom share the same birthday, December 17th, and they both are, you know, that tells a lot to me because my mom is, everyone knows my mom here and everyone knows Carol as these vibrant, you know, wonderful ladies with just such, you know, happy personalities that everyone is so happy to meet them and to know them and to hug them, and they're, you know, just such warm and caring people as well as very smart and you know, business savvy ladies. So they're very, very loved in this community.
Hi, Frank Jasmine. Yeah, good to see you again.
He used to beat up on me.
No. We always treated him very well. Very well. What you talking about?
Take care, man.
All right, man. Good to see you. Okay. All right, good to see you again. Take care. All right, man.
All right. The Shaw neighborhood in Washington, D.C. is a very historic neighborhood. It was founded by runaway slaves, and because of segregation in Washington, D.C., African Americans were forced to basically live in this specific area. As a result of that, you had your doctors, your lawyers, your school teachers, as well as your blue collar and white collar. We were all forced to live together in this one neighborhood.
The African American Civil War Memorial is a tribute to the more than 200,000 African Americans who fought in the Civil War, and their white officers, you know, because during that period, during the Civil War from 1861 to 1865, they would not allow blacks to be the officers, you know, but they had white officers. In fact, this neighborhood, Shaw, is named after Colonel Robert Gould Shaw from the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, who was from Boston. So the name Shaw is named after a white person, even though it was a mostly black neighborhood.
My husband is a history buff himself. History had been a minor of his in college, and he was the executive director of a community-based organization in Shaw called the Shaw Pact. He made me remember the history, and at the same time he wrote a proposal to the DC Humanities Council to do an oral history project on the Shaw neighborhood. And the young man who was supposed to do the project won a fellowship and had to leave town, and it was left for me to do the project. And in putting the history together and it made me remember and also become really aware of what was of such interest to him, why he was so excited about this neighborhood. And once the project was completed and I turned in the report, I realized that it would probably sit on a shelf and just gain dust. And I was inspired to write this musical about this research project that I had done, and I called it Where Eagles Fly, the eagles being the great men and women who came out of this neighborhood. I don't tend to be a fictional writer. I tend to write about things that I've seen, things that I think once the challenges have overcome will be uplifting, that have a message.
Carol, as you know, wrote a wonderful, wonderful play called Where Eagles Fly, which pays a tribute to this area of Washington, D.C. And so 10 years ago, when they were first mounting the production, I was here in Washington and I got a chance to audition. But unbeknownst to me, she'd seen my other show, my Broadway show, and she saw me in it performing at the Source Theater on 14th Street. So when I got a chance to audition, she said, I want him. I've seen him, and he would be good for the role. So I recreated the role of Bill Bojangles Robinson, the legendary tap dancer, in Carol's show, Where Eagles Fly.
I feel very proud to be a part of this neighborhood because of the rich history that binds it. And I think Carol's play is a way of documenting and keeping that history forever, regardless of what happens afterwards. That intellectual piece that was done in 1995 captured what existed from 1861, the period of the plays from 1861 to 1994. And so long before the Harlem Renaissance and the Renaissance in other cities, that people will know about the rich contribution of African Americans here in Shaw.
Eagles was important because it has allowed those who have gone on, it has allowed us to, what can I say, immortalize this neighborhood in terms of the wonderful contributions that it would give to mankind, period, worldwide. And for the new people who are coming into town and moving into the neighborhood, it allows them to understand that they are not just walking into an empty slate, but we are the stuff that history is made from. And so it's sort of like passing the baton, and I'm sure they will do their part as well.
Do you know what time it is? No, what time is it? It's 6 o'clock, and you were supposed to be here. And it'll all be over by 8. Trying to save this old house. Grandma, look at this neighborhood. Houses all burnt down and boarded up. Pusher selling drugs and killing folks with Uzis. I don't see why you want to stay here. The grounds moved, and I heard they got a lot of money too. And I don't know about these white folks moving into the neighborhood either. They're weird too. Just my
The play performed to rousing applause at the Lincoln Theater. The story of the neighborhood of Shaw touched many people with its honesty and soulful depictions of its failures and accomplishments. Unbeknownst to Mu'min, Councilman Jack Evans was in attendance, and totally enthralled by the record come to life on stage, he began an effort that soon reached Mayor Anthony Williams and secured $100,000 in funding to continue the production.
And the city is very happy to be supportive of this effort because it really contains the history of what happened in this community up to the present day. And it's so important for our young people and others to know what happened here as the community changes, to keep in mind the history and what made the substance of this community. So we're very excited about it, and we had great attendance, and I'm just happy that we could be helpful in any way we can. So I'm here to present the check.
Thank you.
And here we all are, and as politicians, this is what we do best.
Nothing would be possible, believes Mu'min, without her faith in Islam, or her partner in everything, her husband Ibrahim. Fortunately, both came into her life about the same time.
Both of us had actually converted to Islam at the same time, at the same year. We didn't even know each other. Both of us had been in the community for 10 years.
I wanted to get somebody to work on my committee who had some experience with dealing with high-level people and diplomats, and I had heard that Carol, at that time she was Carol Muhammad, I heard that Carol Muhammad had worked in the White House, but I'd never talked with her because I thought she must have been stuck up if she worked in the White House. Anyway, but because I had a need, I had a friend to approach her and ask her if she would work on my committee, and she agreed.
After that, I needed some work done, and I was able to call him because I had met him.
She and I had a lot in common, and in some respects we were cut from the same fabric. And so we got to know each other, and then I proposed marriage, you know, and that's how we got to be together.
It has been a marriage made in heaven. It was beautiful that our foundations are so similar. Let me try that.
It's 5 3/4 pounds.
Okay. This is for the, we're just having a little family gathering. So we make sure we have some meat eaters and some non-meat eaters. So we make sure we have both. We tend to be fish lovers ourselves. And the funny thing is...
I cut the plastic on it so you can, but it is great sound.
Good, no smell at all. All right, thank you.
Mu'min is rightfully proud of all that she has achieved in her life. But the title she wears proudest and most boldly is grandmother. Having successfully blended their two families, Carol and Ibrahim joyfully welcome their children, especially satisfied to see their growing grandchildren. Mu'min finds herself happiest when her home is filled with this abundance of love, and she greets each and every one warmly with a hug and kiss.
Thank you for inviting me to dinner.
Oh, thank you for coming, grandson. Oh, come on in. We have lots of children. We're a blended family, so we have 3 girls and a son and grandchildren. This is my oldest grandson, Keenan, who is also the computer expert and technical, and this is his friend who we are also proud of, Christina, and we hope that there'll be an item sometime soon.
She's definitely the person that pulls us together. It's usually at this location. If it's somewhere else, it's kind of like, it seems sort of new, but I don't know, it's kind of like this is our at-home spot. Everybody has their own little areas. They like to park in this house. It's really that comfortable.
Now this is our granddaughter. This is Bismillah, who is the youngest granddaughter in the family.
You get a chance to catch up, like constantly interact with everybody. I don't know, like you talk a lot, like of course just in that outside world from here, but at the same time it's just kind of like a pull together. I mean, it's just really nice to kind of still do things like that where it's just sort of traditional, but at the same time it just keeps everybody close.
By the way, our grandson Keenan speaks Arabic. He lived in the Sudan for a while. So did this. This is our grandson Rahman Rahim, who also lived in who is also a violinist, who also, and his baby sister, and who also lived in the Sudan. This is Yassine, who was born in the Sudan, and he's also a violinist as well. And of course, everyone is just marvelous when it comes to good grades in school. Take your coats off and relax. I need some help in the kitchen.
We do a lot of gathering when there are birthdays, when there are holidays, just a lot of coming together. And it's really a wonderful time. There are times that we come together and maybe someone, may be struggling with a situation or whatever, and it's just good to have that type of support. So this is very important to my mother, this whole family concept.
Okay, we're gonna hold hands.
All right.
And Bismillah is gonna give the blessing.
Oh, I think. Amen. Well,
every time we get together for any occasion, whether it's just birthday, Thanksgiving, any type of dinner, before we eat, we always hold hands and pray and just thank God for everyone who's there, and just, the fact that we could get together and actually be together.
Generally, oftentimes the youngsters will go down and play chess in the basement, we'll sit around and talk about how to keep the family strengthened, who's having, difficulties, what can we do to help one another, make sure all of these children, our children, don't fall through the cracks, that type of conversation.
Over a smorgasbord of fish, chili, and more food, the Mu'min clan, 3 generations strong, reinforced their family ties by sharing stories, laughter, and tears, and by updating each other on their special moments.
Carol, as far as any type of venture that I decide to go into, I would call Carol. Carol, look, I'm getting ready to do this or do that. What do you think? And it's vice versa. We support each other in different ventures that we go into. So we were like a helpmate to each other. And so I think that bond of being sister-in-law and friendship and all of that just, you know, comes together as a whole.
And I've always been amazed by just noticing and getting to know everybody in the family. And it has been exciting knowing a way to dramatize situations even when they could be sort of blank. And that's good to know that you can find such reassurance. And it's like it runs through her family. And so I guess, you know, it's a real blessing for me to be in the family. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate my sister-in-law, Carol, not only as an individual, but if you knew her, the community, the entire community supports this lady. And I can't tell you how big that community is.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome to Autumn Manor. As the chief kahuna here, seriously, we have our oldest grandson has an announcement to share with the rest of the family of something he told me the other day, and he might be embarrassed, but I wanted him to say it anyway. Keenan?
So the 15th is supposed to be the official sell date for the condo in DC. So.
Oh, okay. We're here.
We're here. Leaving your mother? You're leaving your mother? That's what I
come too. There's
so I'll translate. He is getting into a ownership unit, a condominium that'll be in Northeast Washington. Northeast Washington, right off, on the other side. It's on the northeast side. Yeah.
Around Catholic University.
Anyway, and I know it's going to be very difficult for Lauren, you know,
Yes.
to have her son leave the nest. But, you know.
I mean, he's the handyman.
But anyway, Lauren, it's time for him to move on.
I guess it's kind of like a big deal because, I don't know, I've kind of been sort of saving up for it for a while now, and now I have like a stable enough job, got a nice little raise to go along with it, so I guess now it's kind of playing out to the point where I can actually go serious on it and just settle down on the condo. And it's always like seen as an investment. There's a lot of positives in it, it's a lot of negatives in it. It's going to be some short on money, but hey, this all goes along with it. So I mean, it's kind of like a long-term thing, like this long-term goal.
So you all know that shortly after December the 15th, you know, we got a party now.
Right.
I told you, bring your own crates.
And
so you have something to sit on.
And I think, wait a minute, see, I haven't consulted with my boss, but I believe around New Year's Eve, our oldest daughter has something that she's going to do.
Yes, isn't that something? Yes.
We're going to do our regular gather together and write down what our goals are for the year, like we did when I made everybody watch Who Moved Much. Right. The end of the year, kind of our tradition that we've incorporated is where we all get together and everybody has to write 3 things that, you know, they're going to or that they want to achieve during the new year.
Usually Granddaddy takes over the rostrum, and we all have to write down 3 goals that we want to accomplish. And it's amazing how to open the letters at the next year to see who's accomplished their goals. We have violinists in the family, and they are always ready to perform.
amazing person. I don't know, her and my grandfather have always been that person that I just really looked up to. It was always, if I did something, I was just like so happy to just know that I could call them and they would just like feel like the joy that I have in that. And it was just like, a lot of stuff you do is just kind of like just to know that you're like really impressing them, or it was just like a really positive like role in my life.
I have 4 children, and my mother has always been there for me and my children. Any type of assistance she can give to them, any advice. She does have a habit of when you're going through something, she's real quick to say, I have the perfect book you should read. And I'm like, Mommy, I don't want a book. Can you help me now? You know, but definitely gives good advice, very patient, and it's something that I aspire to do and be the same way with my kids.
And they are, all the grandchildren are equally as talented in various fields. And so we feel as parents and grandparents, our job is to just make sure that they get it out. And so the family gatherings become the what do you want to call it, the cocoon that allows them to grow and be accepted in whatever fields they are. I see the future as being very beautiful and very positive. I see every day more and more we are becoming one human family.
There's so many stereotypes and misconceptions about Muslims, particularly American Muslims, and we enjoy a full life as practicing Muslims. We enjoy culture and music.
I have no unmet needs. And that is a blessing to be able to say. So it's just the future holds just, it's like looking to see what Allah unfolds, you know, which of the favors of Allah will you deny?
Mu'min has made a name for herself by chronicling the history of the streets and buildings that make her neighborhood. But she has built a life on her continued involvement in the uplifting of the African American community. The prosperous family she has raised in the nation's capital equals her acclaimed work as a playwright. For Carol Mu'min, happiness comes not from fame or glory, but in helping others bring forth their gifts onto the stage of life. Ordinary people making extraordinary contributions to the world, opening minds and touching hearts with their stories. Tune in next time for another of life's portraits.